2025. For the consideration of the City Council, the Fire Committee, in combination with the TCM Title II Review Committee, have determined that it would be appropriate to invite the city electorate, to determine the next phase of development for the City Fire Department. Problem number one, the proposed Broadwater Rural Fire Department BRFD interlocal agreement. The recent proposed interlocal agreement from the Broadwater Rural Fire District proposes greater access than the originally negotiated space at the Townsend City Fire Complex on Cedar Street in exchange for surprisingly limited access to BRFD's personnel and equipment. This places the city in a position of having to negotiate access to equipment and personnel that it cannot easily replace with current budgetary limitations. The current status of the Townsend City Volunteer Fire Department is also one of limited personnel and limited and aging equipment. Problem number two, volunteerism is on the decline. A Montana legislative topic primer, circa 2018, states the following. According to Montana Code Annotated 7-33-4101, every city and town in Montana must have a fire department meeting the standards outlined in Chapter 33, Section 7, MCA. Third-class cities and towns may contract for fire protection or consolidate with another fire department. First and second-class cities and towns are mandated to pay their firefighters the state minimum wage, see 7-33-4128 MCA. While third-class cities and towns and rural districts can rely on volunteer firefighters, Montana, like most of the nation, has experienced a drastic reduction in the number of volunteer firefighters, which in turn adds financial strain to many fire departments. Problem number three, growth. MCA 7-1-4111 states that a second-class city is one with 5,001 to 10,000 people. The estimated current population of Townsend is between 2,200 and 2,300, depending on the service used for the data, compared to a population of 1,787 from the 2020 U.S. Census. This does not include the potential population increase due to the Copper Springs housing development or any continued growth pressure from Bozeman and Helena. Looking forward 20 to 30 years, accounting for the increased traffic on Highway 287, which is scheduled to have its 4-lane project completed in 2029, and including growth patterns for Bozeman and Helena, it is unlikely that Townsend will remain a third-class city. Upon reaching the status of second-class city, all city firefighters must be paid a minimum wage. Proposal. It is proposed that the City Council will give the Fire Committee authority to develop text for a public referendum scheduled for May 2026 to choose between 3 possible avenues of development for the City Fire Department. The draft options are: A, continue with the status quo as an existing City Fire Department, depending on resources and response from the BRFD. The city negotiates the interlocal agreement with the BRFD and continues to fund the department with current budgetary limitations. City resident taxes continue as defined to support the fire department, excluding levy changes due to inflation. City resident taxes on behalf of the fire department remain the same. B, discontinue the Townsend City Fire Department and become included in the BRFD as permitted by MCA Title VII, Chapter 33, Part 21. City fire taxes are reduced and saved for the day when Townsend becomes a second-class city to help fund mandated costs. Residents will also be assessed taxes on behalf of BRFD. Excluding levy changes due to inflation, city resident taxes on behalf of fire protection increase modestly. C, retain the City Fire Department, levy a specific tax for the 20-year development to a paid fire department, including sufficient equipment for independent operation, and begin negotiating with BRFD to recover what will become necessary space at the Townsend City Fire Complex. Depending on the development of the 20-year fire department growth plan, this levy could noticeably increase taxes. Proposed City Council actions. It is proposed that the City Council decide whether or not it is time to propose this change to the electorate by making a motion to proceed with the proposed Townsend City Fire Department growth plan. A failing vote tables the issue. The Fire Committee will develop a negotiation plan for the proposed BRFD interlocal agreement for the Council to review and, after amendment, authorize the Mayor to pursue. In effect, the motion fails If the motion fails, the council will have chosen referendum draft option A. A passing vote would enact the following. First, the mayor would contact Broadwater County Clerk Angie Paulson to obtain instructions for inclusion to the referendum on the May 2026 ballot, including specifically deadlines and what text must be provided for the electorate. 2, the fire committee will receive any initial thoughts, comments, and suggestions from the public and the council. 3, the fire committee will develop a proposed summary for the plan, ballot text, analysis, and determine the method for supplying supporting and opposition statements if required for each option. Public opinion will be solicited. All efforts by the fire committee to be reviewed and approved by the city council and city attorney before submission to Angie Paulson.
Comments and questions from council?
A quick comment.
Yes.
The reason we're doing this is because we thought the decision was simply too big. We thought it had to go to the public.
And I want to say that this is no way reflecting upon the current city fire department volunteers. We are looking to the future. And I am sure this feels like somewhat of an attack, if you will, and it is not intended to be that at all. Yes, Nate.
So, problem number 3, road. 5,001 to 10,000 people. We have roughly 22, 23, is that correct?
Yeah.
Where within the city limits are you going to gain 2,701 people?
We gain most of that just with the development of Copper Springs, if that happens in a 20 to 30 year period.
20 to 30 years. That puts me at 80 years old.
Yeah.
You know, if I change in 5 years, I'm at 30. I don't think the city's going to get 2,700 more people. I mean, you're doubling, because I don't see it. That's me. And I'm in the industry that wants to sell concrete and gravel, but I just don't see it's going to happen. That's me. I see the draw to towns, and I see between Bozeman and Hill, and the 4-lane will help bring people in. I just don't see it. That's just me. It's my comment.
Other comments or questions from council?
If I could, Mayor?
Yes.
Part of what concerns me is how fast I'm seeing the development of property outside the boundaries and borders of the city. In effect, we're seeing a great deal of growth that is impacting the city, even if it's not the city.
Are we talking within the city?
We are talking within the city limits, but in the course of 20 years, to make the assumption that the borders of the city won't change ever, that's what frightens me. Years ago, when the school asked for that chunk of Second Avenue to be converted for the assistance of parking and loading, etc., at that time, I did a rough projection of what the growth would be like over about a 70-year period as a part of the rationalization for why this makes sense or not. The last 3 years blew that projection out of the water. Right now, what I thought would take 50, 60, 70 years to achieve, I suspect is going to easily take 20 or 30.
I presume that has to do with the student population?
The student population was part of what was driving that original analysis from several years ago, but it was an analysis of total population growth in the area. I freely admit it was a rough analysis for the purpose of making a comment to the city council. I wasn't a part of the council at the time. But I've watched houses go up like weeds in the local area. And I can trivially imagine a time when it's going to be the rural fire district depending on us to help deal with people within 2 miles of this city. I'm really worried that looking forward, the choice to not look forward to what might happen is potentially going to have a very nasty consequence. That's why the decision I felt was not one that I could make. not one that I felt that the council of 6 people could make, but instead had to be one that the public needed to make. If the public says, no, we don't think that the area is going to change that much in 20 to 30 years, that's the vote. That makes the choice for us. The question tonight isn't, is this right? The question is, should we put this in front of the public?
Doug?
John, you're in the fire department. I think, what's your opinion? You worked this whole program. What do you, from the time you spend as in the fire department, looking forward 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, you're probably a better advocate to that.
Yes, Sean, would you answer the councilman's question, please?
We've seen it. We always see an influx of people moving in, moving out, moving in, moving out. You know, we just go drive around town. There's a lot of for sale signs up right now, and I don't know. I don't know what the really good answer.
Well, maybe I should rephrase the question if you don't mind. As the fire department are you guys getting more and
Certainly,
more?
Councilman, you may ask a follow-up question.
Mayor, more and more demand for your services today, and do you foresee that becoming an issue going forward?
We see a lot more in the county. We see county and ambulance. That's where we're seeing the struggle. The city, we're minimal on our calls. Now, that'll go up because it's winter time, so we'll get CO2 alarms, propane smells, stuff like that. And we could, if that subdivision does start up and get moving right along, you'll see an influx. It'll go up, but I assume that it would be more of the same thing: CO2 calls, gas calls, that type of stuff. I don't know. I've been really racking my brain on this. You know, when I did mention this to our people at our meeting, I said it was thrown out there that we could dissolve. The room erupted. And then I did talk to the rural fire chief about this as well. If the city was to dissolve, then there wouldn't be, they would ask, if you're going to dissolve, you sell your portion of the building and you sell the 2 trucks. Otherwise, they're not going to do this rent stuff. It would be you sell everything. And then they would still, then I'm assuming you would have to enter into an agreement like you have with the sheriff's office where they take care of in town, so you'd still have to have a mutual aid. So they would still come to you with a budget every year because they're taking on the
If I could, Mayor.
amount, the extra.
That's not quite true. If the MCA is followed such that we become integrated into the rural fire district, the residents of the city, which are currently not taxed on behalf of the rural fire district, would become taxed on behalf of the rural fire district. There really isn't an interlocal agreement beyond the fact that we have followed the procedures of that MCA part in order to become integrated with the rural fire district. There's no impact on the city's